Good evening out there. There had been a question asked some time ago about whether we actually used real gas or not during the training sessions out at the site at the friend's property. And I wanted to both show them to you, perhaps, to give you the idea of what's actually like, and also the fact that they are 100% very real. Tear gas in the United States, its legality varies depending upon where you live. It's legal in most states, and some others it's restricted, like New York State, where you have to go to a firearms dealer and present your driver's license. And the stuff you can usually buy is usually little squirters, so that if somebody is mugging you or something like that, you can squirt them in the face with either tear gas or pepper spray, or most commonly these days, a combination of both of them. And there is also stuff that's available intended for either law enforcement or correctional uses or stuff like that, that you actually can buy legally too in the right places. And that is also usually a mixture of gases as well, and that's what we're going to show you here in a moment. Now don't worry, I'm not going to get involved with any live discharges or anything like that. I don't think the neighbors would care for that very much here. And also, I'm putting on a pair of gloves at the moment to handle the stuff. It's not too likely to cause a problem, but dramatic license. Also, that would be why I'm going to put on a gas mask for the talk for the rest of this also as well. Again, chances of any actual accidental discharge are about 0, but this makes it more fun, I think. So let's get the mask on. And check the seal now on it as well. Okay, I have a good seal, so no problem there. And the company in question's name is Aerko International. They produce a range of gas for, like I said, police or other similar uses in civilian situations. And they come in various aerosol type sizes. Now, the grenades you may have seen on TV or the news frequently are military gas grenades that can be fired from a grenade launcher or thrown, and they have a small bursting charge in them to disperse the gas in them. Those can be kind of unsafe. That's why these aerosol type alternatives have been developed. Obviously, they're limited in that you can only throw them or place them. They can't be put in a launcher, but accidentally hurting someone is less likely too. And this is a little 2-ounce one. This is the smallest standard one they sell. You may be able to pick out the brand name there if we give it a moment to focus. There's also a date and a bunch of warnings on the bottom and the side of this as to how you should handle it and use it. And this little canister has a date of 3/22, so it's still in date. All aerosols have a disadvantage that they actually do leak over time. In this case, not enough to be dangerous, but they're dated so that police and whatnot don't use old stuff that may not be as effective or discharge as long as needed. So after the date on the bottom of these canisters, it's recommended you use them for training use only. The other thing that's a little unique about them is aerosols. If you remember your old deodorant can or something like that, that they would not discharge if they were upside down or lying on their side. These have been specially designed so that no matter what position they end up in, the aerosol inside will still discharge. Now this little 2-ounce canister will disperse gas for approximately 5 to 8 seconds overall. And like all of their line, you can see you might be able to see a little red dot and a blue dot on there. This is a mixture of both tear gas and pepper spray with an aerosol carrier. And the rationale behind that is generally that together it makes them more effective. The pepper spray, in theory, gets you sneezing and coughing, and you inhale more of the tear gas portion, and so it's more effective that way. But what I was going to say before about the mixture, and that tear gas is kind of a bit of a misnomer. The tear gas goes by designations of usually either CS or CN, and those are code names for what's in it. And tear gas is actually solid particles of very, very, very fine dust, and that dust is what irritates the eyes, the nose, and the throat, and makes your eyes close up and your nose run, and usually you'll start feeling coughing and nauseous too. So while a bit of a misnomer, everybody calls it tear gas anyway. And I said this little guy will discharge for approximately 5 to 8 seconds and will produce enough gas that will usually fill a couple average sized rooms without much of a problem. There's a lever on the top of it that you depress to start the release of the gas. And when it's snapped down and in place, the discharge begins, and it's very difficult to get back up unless you have a lever of some kind, like a screwdriver or a coin. And you'd have my congratulations if you're trying to pick this up and stop the flow while you're not wearing a gas mask at the time. So again, about 5 to 8 seconds in this 2-ounce canister, and so it'll fill up a couple of rooms with no problem. One of these will set you back about $10 or so. We can consider the real size here is the 6-ounce can, and this kind is more suitable to be using outdoors. All of these gases are more effective in an enclosed space and preferably used that way. But they can be used outdoors as well, as long as you're accounting for the fact that the wind and weather will certainly reduce its effectiveness. On a fairly calm day, we've easily had them drift several hundred yards from the site they were discharged, and the effects were still noticeable then. So that's why you have to be cautious even after the training is over, and after on a light or no wind day especially. After the training session where we've released the gas inside a shed, we come back outside and stay fully geared up and masked up, and because of the pepper spray component of this, that usually involves wearing an oversuit as well, along with the hood and gloves, to keep the stuff off of your hair and possible skin contact burns because it can feel almost, it's like a bad sunburn, is how I would say it feels. And you're probably better off keeping that off of you. So again, the 6-ounce version discharges over the course of approximately 20 to 25 seconds and would release enough gas indoors to pretty much totally fill up an average 2-story house. So it can be a pretty potent amount. It's really too much for the little shed, but or a trailer or wherever else we're doing the training, but it's not bad. Unless you're caught in it without a mask, of course. And these canisters also work the same way. They have a bunch of warnings. They have a date on them, that after the date you should only use it for training purposes. And the lever action is the same style, where you press it down, it tends to stay down, unless you have something you can jam it back up with. And again, if you're in some kind of a riot or criminal situation where you're being hit with a gas, it would be pretty difficult to think straight, not get gassed, and try to shut this canister off again. The 6-ounce versions of Clear Out, these canisters generally sell for about $15 to $20. The company also makes a special version of the 6-ounce grenade, but without, I won't unravel the entire thing here. The characteristics are exactly the same as the standard 6-ounce can, except on top of the nozzle instead you can see it has a long, about 3-foot length of plastic tubing, and that allows some more tactical uses of the gas. For example, there's a lot of really nasty things you can do with this one that are less obvious. With the plastic tubing, you could feed it under a door or through a keyhole, for example, or cut a hole in the screen and pass the tubing inside the house. You could also drill a hole in the wall or the ceiling and feed the tubing in, and then discharge the gas. Maybe nastiest of all, but you know, a lot of businesses and homes have a central air conditioning system, and a lot of times that's fairly easily accessible on a ground pad. And if you know your little way around HVAC systems, you can discharge this directly into the system, trip it on, and then not very long later, with some power assistance, you'd have gas pouring out of every vent in the place. And so a couple of these, one's probably sufficient for an average sized home, and a couple would do a small business, like a drugstore or something like that. And I said, pretty quickly then, with the assistance of the ventilation system, you'd have a lot of gas pouring out in almost no time at all. They do make another smaller version I don't have an example of here. It's a long, small tube with like a stainless steel needle on the end of it. It's intended for use with vehicles where the windows are up, or any other rather small enclosed space like that. And with a small needle on it, you can work it around like the rubber seal of a window or something like that, and release a small burst of gas into a closed space like a car or something similar. I probably babbled on for long enough now. Hopefully you found this video somewhat interesting, and thanks for watching. Especially that someone special out there who asked for it. You know who you are. Later.